The first episode of Daredevil Born Again Season 2 just dropped. And to celebrate, I've decided to take on the challenge to film and produce my own Daredevil fight scene. I absolutely love the original 3 seasons from the Netflix era of Daredevil, so I'm going to be taking a lot of inspiration for how it's going to be shot and the fight choreography from that show. Be sure to stay right till the end of the video because I will show the full scene, all done. So let's waste no more time and let's get right into it. Firstly, I need a scene to work with. So I had the idea to do a simple kidnapping type scene where I'm gonna have a woman be held hostage by a hitman who is waiting to complete his job by, well, killing her. Daredevil is listening to his streets, making sure everyone's safe and sound, but guess what? He locates the woman who's been kidnapped. He intercepts the hitman and they both have a brutal fight scene. Both of them have hard-hitting moments and we're not sure who's winning or losing this fight. It's a true battle. But eventually, Daredevil finishes him off and saves the woman. But who's gonna act in this and who's actually gonna shoot it? If it were possible, I would clone myself to be both Daredevil and to be behind the camera, but unfortunately, it's not. So I made the decision to be Daredevil and act as Daredevil. And I'll have to get someone else to shoot because I didn't want it to all just to be filmed on a tripod. I wanted handheld action movement. And for that job, it ended up being a combination of Toby and Maddie. I also had Maddie act as the kidnapped woman, and then finally, I got Zane in to be the hitman that I ended up fighting. Now that we got all that out of the way, this is where we actually created and choreographed the fight. So me and Zane got to work and started making up stuff on the spot just to get a basis of what the fight would be and what it would sort of look like. And after a couple of weeks with variations and changes to the fight scene as we went along, we finally had a finished choreography. And for not being trained stunt professionals, I think this fight turned out really well. So now that I have an actual fight to work with, I storyboarded out the entire scene to get specific shots for each action moment. So the shooting night was somewhat planned. And so I had a direct reference for each shot through the whole scene that I could show the camera operators, Maddie and Toby, and they could see what I'm thinking. But where were we actually going to shoot all this? Well, we actually found this drain tunnel location, which I thought was perfect for the gritty, kidnappy type location. But we did run into some pretty annoying issues filming here, but I'll get to that very soon. So let's tick off what we've done so far. We've got the scene written and storyboarded, actors and helpers locked in, fight choreography done, and the location is sorted. So I think the last thing is making the costumes. For the costume of Daredevil, I knew right from the start of this project that I wanted to recreate his DIY black suit from season 1. To do this, I first went to Kmart to find these working trade pants that had these pad sections on the knees, which I just thought looks pretty cool, and I also got these simple sneakers. I also got 2 of these compression black shirts online because one of them needed to be cut, spoilers. And for the mask, I needed some sort of black material that I could kind of see through because obviously I need to have some sort of decent vision for when we're fighting and stuff, and we're also shooting at night, so that makes it even harder to see. But I found this kid's costume black cape which had a solid stretchy material that I could actually kind of see through. So I bought that and cut it to a more reasonable size so I could wrap it around my entire head and it would fit a bit better. And finally, I needed his billy clubs because that was an actual prop that I was going to use in the scene. So I bought some cheap nunchucks and then I just cut the chain that links to the both of them and boom, we got some sort of billy clubs. For the hitman outfit, I just op-shopped a leather jacket and some stretchy jeans for an edgy type costume. Definitely not your regular looking hitman, but this hitman is special. Now it's time for shooting. And before we even started, I ran into the first problem, which was the location. Early that morning, the drain was dry, but because it's connected to the ocean, the tide brought in some water by the time it was evening. Conditions are not great. It's very wet, so I'm gonna make do with this, try and brush some wetness away. This is alright, but in the other spot, it's a bit wet. Challenges are coming, but we got this. We got this. Luckily, we were able to get a broom, so we broomed up all the wet leaves and pushed them out of the way so we had a bit of a cleaner surface to work with. We were also supposed to set up way earlier when there was more light, but time just went really fast, so I had to set up the lights in the dark. To light this scene, I simply just used 2 lights. I set up the Amaran 60XS at one side of the scene at a warm 3200 Kelvin to emulate a street light. And then the Amaran Ray 120C was set up a bit deeper into the trees on the other side, set to a really cool 20,000 Kelvin, just to try and emulate that moonlight look. So after all this preparation, we could actually start shooting. For this, I hired an FX3 for the night, which was surprisingly cheap because of its good low light performance, autofocus, and high frame rate options. Just so the camera operators didn't have to worry about pulling focus manually and stuff like that. But the autofocus was actually pretty abysmal sometimes, and I think it might have been just the lens we were using. But anyways, we keep on going. So for the next hour or two, we were busy filming. Bang, bang. And when I throw it,
Right, 3, 2, 1, and action.
we were ticking off shots of the fight bit by bit, but unfortunately, around 9 PM, Toby had to leave. So Maddie had to take over filming the fight scene. Cut, makeup.
Currently doing the blood slice, and what scene is this? 53. Almost done, y'all.
Holy Jesus Christ himself.
Oh, that was
Wow.
After a couple more hours of non-stop shooting, I got the last shot that I needed to complete some sort of fight scene. And then it started to rain.
Shoot cancelled because of rain. Luckily we got that last shot. You're waterproof, surely.
So tonight wasn't the smoothest of shoots, but I'll tell you what, it was fun. It was really fun. Guess gotta look forward to shoot day number 2.
Too hot. Jump all the time, man. Too hot.
Anyways, just like the other night, the drain was completely dry the morning of filming, but in the evening, it was even worse than before. So I was immediately having doubts if we could even shoot, but I knew I'd be running out of time close to the release of Born Again. So I got to work and tried to make a better pathway for the water to flow out because it was kind of stuck. And by the end of it, it wasn't too much different. It helped, but not much. At this point, I really wasn't sure if this was gonna work, but fuck it. So we filmed anyways. I got the shots that I needed, which was a bit of dialogue of the hitman talking at the start of the scene and leading up to the fight. And after all this, 2 nights of shooting, it was a wrap. Thank you guys so much for making my dream come true. The hardest part is done, at least for now. Because I also wanted to add another little scene before we get into the fight, just to establish some more context. I wanted to somehow composite myself as Daredevil on top of a roof in New York City, listening through the streets to find a woman. This was a big ask, considering I was starting these shots 1 week before Daredevil Born Again Season 2 was releasing, so time to get to work. I found this Blender plugin called City Generator to build a portion of a city which also had car simulations and nighttime lighting as part of the plugin, which was a huge help because I am not doing all that from scratch when I barely know how to use Blender. So I built my section of the buildings, dialed in the settings for nighttime, and rendered the camera angles I wanted from my storyboard. And now I have to film myself for one last time. I went into my garage, set up one light to act as street lights hitting me from below, and I got 3 angles, matching the ones that I rendered from Blender. It took a little while to get the angles that I wanted, especially shooting by myself, but eventually I got what I needed. I then rotoscoped my body in After Effects and then composited it on the 3 different camera angles that I rendered in Blender. And with some extra color grading and filmic effects, I had a finished result. And for a pretty quick job, I don't think it's too bad. Now to tie everything together, I added fight sounds that we actually recorded ourselves.
Go again.
No good. And plenty of other sound design, music, and extra effects. And after quite a bit of editing, this is the final scene.
No, I won't hold it for another 2 hours. I have to do it now. Alright. Sorry, Sarah, but it seems like death is at your door. It's about time.
I'm really stoked with how the fight turned out and the whole scene in general, and also the city renders considering that it had to be done so quickly. Thank you so much to everyone that helped me on this video: Zane, Maddie, Toby, and Annabelle. I couldn't have made it this good without you guys. I've got a bunch of videos like this and more coming this year, so stay tuned and I'll see you guys later.